Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. This is What's Fun and New with XBee, and I am Rob Faludi, the Collaborative Strategy Leader in R&D here at Digi International. Because there are a number of attendees, we're going to ask that you hang on to your questions until the end of the webinar, and then we'd be happy to take them. So I'll just go ahead and get going right now. Fun with XBees is about all the cool things that are going on with device networking and how you can participate. So as I said, I'm Rob Faludi, and I work as a graduate school instructor in interaction design.
Faludi, man.
School of Visual Arts. I'm sorry, I got some noise on the line. Okay, as the School of Visual Arts, and as well as a instructor at New York University's Interactive Telecommunications program. I'm an O'Reilly author as well, but my cool job, my main job, is working here at Digi International as Collaborative Strategy Leader, and my mandate is to reach out to the people who are doing really interesting work, find them and see how we can help them and make our products work better for them. So this is the XBee radio, which you are possibly all quite familiar with, and it's used for networking devices. You can connect devices to one another, point to point, or you can create mesh networks that allow every device on the network to extend it, creating a situation where everything can talk to everything. So Digi supports a wide variety of industrial solutions, and these include things like refrigerated truck management or mobile asset management, a variety of healthcare solutions, building systems management, something my fall class at ITP is focusing on, assisted living, energy monitoring, making hotels work better, solving parking problems, and even keeping you fit. So these are all great applications. And the question I have is, what else can we do? How can we come up with better ideas and new applications? And Stephen Johnson says the trick to having good ideas is not just to sit around in glorious isolation and try to think big thoughts. The trick is to get more parts on the table, more ideas on the table. So some of my cool new job is going out and getting more parts on the table. In other words, finding creative inventions, but also helping to create more creative inventors for projects like these. So this is by no means an exhaustive list of all the interesting things that people are doing with XBee's Connect ports and iDigi, but it should give you an idea that there's a lot going on out there. And we're going to look at a number of these things. So the first one that I want to look at is the Adidas Megalizer. And it's actually a very simple project to understand. Pretty much the shoes control the music. At this point, what I'd like you to do is go ahead and take a look in your chat window, and I'm going to go ahead and paste a URL that you can use to look at that video. And I will give you about a minute and a half to watch the video, and then we'll come back on. So here's the video to watch. audio controller for performance made by a group of students at the ITP program. And it's got footwear, but it's also got this wireless hat, so you can kind of doff the cap, and that's a music controller as well. This next project is called Touched by Strangers by Alex Reeder and Yutaka Kitamura. And these are performance suits that control a huge screen display of blossoming flowers using contact between the dancers. So you can see the flower display behind them, and the suits themselves have handprints on them that the dancers touch to control the video and also some audio for this project. And then there's Dream Squawk. This is a bird mask with all kinds of vocal effects and sample controls built right into the beak for performance by the artist Amy Koshobin. So some artists are obsessed with sound and others are kind of obsessed with light. This is a Berna lighting sculpture by a group that calls themselves the Latest Artists. It dynamically emulates the change that you might see in a building from the outside over time, with each unit or virtual unit in the building wirelessly connected to the others. Daniel Hirschman and company created a networked interface for a promotional event so that every time someone ordered the signature liquor, all the other glasses in the room would light up if you were drinking that same liquor. Here's a terrific project by Jen Lewin, who's a brilliant sculptor out of Boulder, Colorado, who specializes in interactive installations. In this piece, as you walk around between each of the lit up nodes on the network, the system changes so that the patterns of light interact with each of the users. This was something that's been presented a few different times. It's not necessary for it to actually have any connections other than electrical. All the devices, each node talks to all the other nodes wirelessly in a mesh. And Jen Lewin is now working on a collaboration with the famous sculptor Klaus Oldenburg for his very first interactive piece. This project is by John Park and Usman Muzaffar. It's called Blendophone, and it's a musical instrument made by 8 different networked blenders that was shown at Maker Faire in San Francisco. We're not sure if they drank daiquiris before or after or during, maybe all 3. Eric Bug created wireless sound objects, and these were his ITP thesis. Each is a different type of sound generator or an effects box that passes information wirelessly to its neighbor, and it creates a distributed synthesizer for performance. So just like a synthesizer has different modules in it, this breaks all the modules apart to be operated by different people, but connects them together wirelessly as one piece. Or let's say you're in New York and your wife is in Japan and you want to communicate. Alex Reeder created a gorgeous pair of pajamas that sent his sleep movements to his wife's mobile phone in Japan so she could have a sense of his presence during his night and her daytime. Of course, not all interactions are quite as friendly. This is Tom Igo's roller derby hit tracker, and each time one of the roller derby athletes crashes into one of the other roller derby athletes, a hit is recorded and displayed for everyone to see. So it's kind of a scoring system for professional violence. The Rockwell Group in New York created this wonderful large-scale interactive environment in San Jose's Civic Center. In this slide, you can see that there are various different devices, such as a megaphone, and by interacting with them on the plaza, you actually connect to video that's broadcast all the way up the side of this tall building. We're going to go ahead and look at a video of that next. So I'll go ahead and paste that into the chat window so that you can take a look too. Okay, hopefully that video is wrapping up for most of you about now. I'll give you one more moment. And we'll go ahead and begin again. So this next project is about the organic, and people are fascinated by the organic. A group of students at Indiana University created a wireless bee puppet and hive, and this creates an educational game that they use to teach children about, of all things, complexity theory. The IGG Garden, designed by Digi employee Jordan Husney, is in back of our company headquarters out in Minnetonka, Minnesota. And there's a fully wireless sensor network that automatically waters the garden and monitors the environment. And it waters in zones. So each zone wirelessly reports back to a controller how much it needs to be watered. And other environmental variables are monitored and recorded as well. And then there's Botanicals. This is a project that I worked on in graduate school that enabled plants to phone you and tell you in their own voice when they needed light or water. And I'm pleased to say that right now it's being shown in the Talk to Me exhibit at the Museum of Modern Art in New York. Here's another one that's in a museum. I just found out about this a few days ago. This is a set of brooms that are enabled both with gas sensors and wireless transmitters. And it's called Alchemist Wand for the 21st century. So the brooms detect and react to various volatile chemicals in the environment. You can see them displayed here at the Bitforms Gallery in New York City. The project, I think, is out of California. Air Penguin by a company called Festo in Germany is this unbelievable set of wireless penguins that float on the air and flap their wings. And I've got a video to show you for that too, so we'll go ahead and cue that one up again in your chat window. And we'll get going in just a moment here. So this next project is Weather Beacon, and Tim Dye created it because he not only wanted to monitor the weather, but he also wanted to share the forecast information with his neighbors. And so he created this globe that at night glows different colors as an indicator of what weather is going to come to be. pharmbot is a robotic farm helper. And among other tasks that it can do, it is actually capable of herding sheep. I'm not going to show the video for this one right now because it's fairly long, but I encourage you to check it out online at some point in the future. And this presentation, by the way, will be online as well, so no need to take notes. All right. A bunch of projects are purely for practical reasons. So Matt Richardson of Make Magazine created a wireless on-air light so he could warn his office mates that the weekly streaming video was underway. Twit Ear by Ellie Bonus also addresses the workplace. This is a ear module that's plugged in the kitchen. It's a paper towel roll next to it. Twitter listens to your office and reports on areas of high activity over Twitter, so you can track remotely where all the office action is. Here's Lamora Freed's Tweetawatt, and this creates a twittering power monitor. So you can find out where people are, and you can also find out how much power they're using. Radish was a device created by Aaron Spangler at Google, and it's an environmentally friendly conference room scheduling sign. You can see its predecessor, the paper sign, right next to it. And the idea here was to remove the need for paper signs and constantly reprinting paper signs. As you can imagine at Google, they have plenty of conference rooms, and so they go through reams and reams of paper, even in a morning, and replace it with a device that would receive the conference room information wirelessly, display it on an ePaper display that could be run directly from the ambient light available on a solar panel that was placed in a hallway. So just by harvesting a little of the power from the lighting inside a building, enough energy could be created to, every 15 minutes or so, update the ePaper sign and use the XBee radio to power on and download the very latest conference room schedule, so they were always up to date. This next project is the Office Musik Democratizer. A brand new hardware interactive agency in New York made this, and it's a shared remote control that hangs on the wall for providing feedback on the Office Pandora or Last FM feed. If you like what's going on, you can tap the heart. If you hate it, you do the circle slash, and the system will move on to the next. This is AskPolly, and Polly is a living bar chart that responds to real-time inputs like online polls. And each of these is a collapsing bar chart, so you can see in real time in a physical 3D display exactly how you're doing in the polls, or maybe who's the most popular on Twitter that week. Now, the essence, of course, of practicality is to take a messy plate of yarn and form it into a perfect ball. And that's exactly what Yarn Monster does. So a messy ball of yarn fed into Yarn Monster's mouth will internally be wrapped into a perfect ball. Again, a terrific video about this available online, so be sure to check that out as well. Tom Igoe, in his seminal book, Making Things Talk, which also describes the XBee radios, focused mainly on the 802.15.4 Series 1 radios, shows how to make a cymbal monkey that warns of toxic workshop spills by remotely banging his cymbals together to alert you. And that's a project that I believe is also available in Make Magazine. These are the Ninja Gloves, a system that we use for teaching. A very simple way of creating a wearable wireless system. And you can see here Nick Bilton and Alicia Gibb created their gloves at NYC Resistor, a New York City hackerspace. This is one of my very favorite student projects. Dan Liss has a toddler daughter, and she was always asking, when's daddy coming home? When's daddy coming home? So he made these shoes that actually walk faster as he approaches. They sense his distance from the signal strength of an XBee that he carries with him, enclosed in one of those old school pager cases. This is a very short video, but I figure it's worth a look, and you can have to, of course, imagine his daughter reacting to the shoes as they walk faster and faster until finally, to her delight, daddy bursts in the door. Okay, so there's your and that's a short video, so we'll get started again in just a sec. So these are all terrific projects. I think it's really fantastic, the kind of things that people are doing with device networking. But the most fantastic part is these are all things that you can do yourself. You can simply get an XBee radio, read the product manual for it. These product manuals are very complete. And there's also tons of online resources that can help you connect an XBee to something like an open source microcontroller, the Arduino. And of course, you can also try my book. And in fact, we have a special offer for you, which includes the book for nothing. So that may be a great way to get into it. The book, by the way, goes right from the beginning, how to get ready dealing with XBee radios, shows you all the basic parts you need. And then it moves on to the fundamentals of radios, and it introduces XBee and ZigBee, and you've got a 2-node configured network right by the end of chapter 2. From there, in the book, we create some doorbells, and we use that Arduino microcontroller to do it. So now you're working with external devices along with the XBee. And from there, we move on to the XBee's I/O mode, give you some help in setting the mood for romance in the romantic lighting sensor project. And this is really just a demonstration of how XBees can be useful all on their own without an external microcontroller. From there, in chapter 5, we go into API mode. We explain how computers can talk directly to the XBee radios in their own language. And we build a full wireless sensor mesh network. And at this point, you're really only halfway through the book. So we move on from there to power savings and reverse the flow of information to create a home control network that can turn on and off appliances. And then things get really interesting. So we start using gateways, and then we use IGG to create a fully networked Twitter display device. So I wanted to give you some next steps if this stuff interests you. Build things. Anyone can build projects like these, and I'm always encouraging people who've never touched electronics before, and electrical engineers with PhDs have all taken a look at some of these and decided to create something great. And the way I find out about this is that people tell me. So be sure to tell me if you've seen great work, especially stuff that's I haven't covered here. If you get good at it, help other people who are doing innovative work. That's what keeps this process moving. And share the work that you do. A lot of people do really exciting things with our radios, but until they post it online, until they make it available, nobody else knows what they've done. And then when you're done with that, build something else. So a very exciting XBee that's new on the scene right now is the Wi-Fi XBee. So it just came out recently, and right out of the box, it does serial to Wi-Fi for embedded devices. It's the same size as an XBee Pro in the through-hole 20-pin format, and it can be interfaced both through its UART, direct serial, and through SPI on the board. You can set up networks in ad hoc mode to talk to other Wi-Fi XBees or other ad hoc devices, or it can also be configured in infrastructure mode so that it can communicate with a router just like your laptop does. It covers a whole slew of different formats and security protocols and data rates, and it's very gentle on the power, especially when it's sleeping. You can see 0.002 milliamps are used during sleep. So this helps your device if it is battery enabled. And it's available right now. Manufacturer's suggested retail price is $49. However, it's also available to you who are on the call right now as a special deal as part of a development kit. And that dev kit is offered at $99 just for a limited time after the webinar. And for that $99, you get 2 XBee Wi-Fi modules. You also get 2 USB development boards. and you get a free copy of Building Wireless Sensor Networks for working with the Series 2 Zigbee radios when you purchase the XBee Wi-Fi kit. So that promo code will be set up, and it can be sent out to you in a follow-up email. One more video I'd like you to take a look at before we wrap up. These are the Esper Dominoes. And the Esper Dominoes are a wireless kinetic domino. So if you don't know what that is, here is a video that can help you understand it coming into your chat window momentarily. And there's the link in the chat window. This video is about 2 minutes long, so we'll be back after that, and I can take questions. Okay, and we're all set. So thank you everyone for taking a look at what's fun and new with XBees. Again, I'm Rob Faludi, and my email address is on the screen if you need to get in touch with me. I'll also be answering a few of the questions that have come up. The first question, can the XBee Wi-Fi module operate in AP mode or master mode? And the answer to that is that the XBees only operate in client access mode. So access point software is very time consuming to route, so ours only connects to an access point. So you will actually have to have an access point, and then these radios will act as client devices. Let's take a look at another question here. Mesh routing. Do the Wi-Fi modules, are they able to mesh route? The Wi-Fi modules do not mesh route. So you have the choice. You can link two Wi-Fi XBs together via ad hoc mode, in which case they can communicate without the need for any other sort of router. But if you want to create a mesh network, that's where you'd really be interested in the ZB radios, the XBee Zigbee version radios, which will create a mesh network. Or if Zigbee does not meet your needs, you might also want to take a look at the Digi Mesh protocol that's available as firmware for the Series 1 hardware. So either of those might help you out. Look for another question here. Yes, someone is would like to know if I'm aware of any projects using Zigbee Smart Energy Profile. Absolutely. There are a large number of projects that use the Smart Energy Profile mode. And Derek, maybe you want to talk to that a little if you have a chance.
Small little tiny.
What Power One intends to do, and what they've proposed to Solar City, according to my information, is to do the workaround.
Okay, I don't hear Derek on that one, but that's okay. So Siegfried, if you have more questions about that, feel free to ping me offline. But Digi radios and Connect ports are being used for smart energy systems professionally, and there's lots of good information about that available. There's a question, what's the max distance between two XBee Pros? So I get asked this question a lot, which is what is the range? And I like to give the most practical answer, which is range really depends on signal to noise ratio. So just like a person talking in a room, I can whisper, and if the room is empty, the person on the other end of the room can hear me. But if it's full of other people talking, not so much. So the maximum distance between two XBee Pros is probably over a mile, but that's line of sight in perfect conditions. On a practical basis, you'd be looking at in indoor conditions in your average environment, maybe something like 100 meters is good. But that will vary considerably. A bunch of you have asked if this presentation is going to be available soon on the Digi website. It absolutely will. In fact, we are planning on making a kind of database of these different creative projects available so that anyone can go through them with full links. So even better than you got in the presentation. Let's see, let me pick another question here. There's a question if there are any plans to create smaller or flexible XBee devices, because the ones on market are large in the case of wearables. As far as creating a flexible XBee, I'm not aware of a plan for that. It's a really interesting idea, and I think that's true. I work with actually people who do a lot of different wearables work. There's very little in the way of completely flexible components. Most components are made out of hard things. And so, for example, the LilyPad line, while it's round and made to be wearable, is still not completely really anything like a piece of clothing. So that's something I think we're all looking at. But we are looking at engaging with some companies that do interesting projects, such as tracking cattle that need smaller radio devices. You also might want to take a look at the surface mount XBee, which is currently available. There's a question of whether XBee products support 28.8 baud rate, and yes, they do. They can be set to a variety of different baud rates. What's the main difference between Zigbee and XBee? So Zigbee is a protocol in the same way that Bluetooth is a protocol. It's an open protocol that's shared by a variety of different manufacturers to ensure that all of their devices can talk together. In the case of Zigbee, it's a mesh networking protocol. Now, XBee is a brand name. It's Digi's brand name that's used for a variety of different networking radios, all of which have that blue form factor with the 20 pins, and that are generally pin for pin compatible with each other. So an XBee can run the Zigbee protocol, and if you buy the XBee ZB line of radios, that's exactly what you'll get. But they can also run other protocols as well. There was a question about 6 low-pan devices, not currently available, but we're looking at mid to late next year for that firmware being available on our hardware. And there's a question, how can I get the book? Glad you asked. My favorite way for you to get the book, given this webinar, is to actually get the XBee Wi-Fi kit. You'll get a free book with that. If you don't need or already have XBee Wi-Fi, then the book is available on Amazon and directly from the publisher O'Reilly as well. You can get it as a physical book. You can get it as a PDF. I believe SparkFun Electronics also sells it. And it can be bought for Kindle. I'm not sure about Nook. And yes, I will be attending Waveform in Toronto next week. And there was a question about a link for the book. I'll go ahead and paste that link in. I'll give you a link to the O'Reilly site, which is the official book website. That will go into the chat window. And just taking a look at some of these other questions. I think we've probably covered everything. If I missed anyone, feel free to contact me. My email address is probably still on the screen. And once again, thank you very much for attending What's New and Fun with XBee. Look for the video of these slides online, probably sometime in the next week or so on the Digi site.
The organizer has ended the session, and this call will be disconnected. Goodbye.